Yo, welcome to Noob Chess Analysis. Alright, today I wanted to show how I beat the London using the King's Indian defense, usually right out of the open. And what I mean by that is usually, almost always, I'll have an advantage at least, and a lot of times I'll have an exchange. I'll win an exchange right out of the open, first like 10 moves maybe. So I want to show that, and here's a game. So we got d4. I know I'm playing the King's Indian defense against d4, and I am hoping to see the London here. And I will say really quickly, this works at the 1300 level and below. I have no idea if it works at 1400 plus, but I would assume it does because they're all pretty much the best moves you can make here against the London. But if it doesn't, don't blame me. I'm not above 1300, so I couldn't really tell you. So yeah, I'm just playing usual King's Indian opening. We're going to bring the knight out. We're going to fiend Keto. And what we're looking for from him is the standard London opening. So this works. It only works against the standard London. What I mean by that is, yes, knight to c3, knight to f3, bishop to d3. This is the standard London opening, and this works extremely well against that. So I'm just praying that he plays the standard opening, which he is so far. I castle. And then, yeah, this is exactly what we wanted to see. And the move here now, the important move, rook to e8. And basically what we're preparing to do is bust open the center. And there's a lot of complications here, a lot of possible forks to watch out for. And this, people just fall for this all the time. So what we want to see here is a castle or any other move that doesn't kind of break up my ability to fork everything here. So he plays b4, which is great because it's a huge mistake. We're going to break open the center before he can even castle. So the next move for us is e5. Now, usually, almost always, at the 1300 level, people will just take here with the pawn. But there are other moves. Some of them are mistakes right away where you're going to win an exchange, and some of them you're going to have to play through. You're going to have to know how to react to it. But as you can see, we're at 0.9 right now. So we're beating the London out of the opening, and we have an advantage. So let's go through with how the game actually went first. So he takes, and I take back with the pawn. And he cannot take here, right? Because he's up now. So if he were to take, we take back. He takes, and then we finish it off with the rook. We're up in exchange. So he can't take there. Now, what happens at this level all the time is people go bishop g3. And that's a big mistake. They go bishop g3. And what you have is e4 for a fork. And then usually they just go through with it. So it's take, and we're up in exchange. Oh, yeah. It's a good point. And you take the rook first, and then they'll take back, and then you grab the bishop. The one thing is you do have to be very careful about this open diagonal. Once you get rid of the dark squared bishop, you have to be very careful of that diagonal. So just keep that in mind. So that's actually what happens all the time. You're going to be up in exchange already. Let's say they don't fall for just going bishop g3, and instead they go bishop g5, which is a good move. This kind of saves them from being forked. But it still can be complicated to get through it without an exchange. So what you do here is you're going to put pressure on. Put pressure on the bishop, ask him what he wants to do. Now if he takes, you're going to take back with the knight. So let's just say he takes, and now he has a tempo to not get forked. We're still up though, 0.9. We still have an advantage here. So it's solid. Either way, even if they do something correct, like go bishop e2, which is a good move, we're still in a good position here. We're +1 here. Now, often they'll just not even see this fork at this level, and they'll do something like castle, and then you fork them, right? Then you fork them. What else? So let's say he goes here, bishop g5, you push up with h6, and then he goes to h4. Well, now he's in trouble because he's not going to have a tempo to save this fork because we're going to double attack him. So now we're attacking the bishop and we're threatening the fork in our next move. So when he moves back, then you fork him. Okay? So a lot of different variations, but overall, and that's why it can be super tricky at 1300. A lot of people just make this mistake. You're going to be up in exchange right away. So this is what happened in the game. I went for the break open the center. I took back, and he went bishop g3, and I forked him. And he went through with the exchanges, and I took with the rook. It is better to take with the bishop. My thinking was I have also been punished many times by losing this bishop and having the queen just with this massive diagonal. And he still has the dark squared bishop. But moving forward, I will take with the bishop since it is better. And then you just got to be careful with this opening. So, yeah, this is how it went down. And I'm a total noob. I made a mistake here. I don't know how I missed this. And I missed it multiple times throughout the game. And this is probably one of the reasons I'm stuck at 1300. One of the many reasons I'm stuck at 1300 is I don't see this piece just hanging here. Instead, I see the pawn hanging, that is unfortunate because that knight would have been very tasty. And now we're also in a bit of trouble here because we can no longer take the knight, and he's threatening a very nasty check, and we don't want that. We definitely don't want that. So actually, there is a brilliant move here, and I'm going to give you a second to find how to react to this with the brilliant move. I'll give you a second. Pause the video if you need. All right, the move is queen to f6. And I actually got that in game. I got a brilliant move. Double exclamation point. And the reason why it's so good is you have a rook hanging, right? You got to be careful. How do you save this rook? Well, you can't really save the rook and save this nasty check. So you have to think, well, first I want to save the check, but also I need to have a counterattack after he takes the rook. So knight or queen f6 accomplishes both of those. So if he takes my rook, we get his rook with check. And that allows, the check is super important because if you don't have check, then he can just come down with his own check. But since you have check, and he actually takes in game, so we're just going to continue to move here. With check, he has to move a tempo with the king, and this allows you to come back and protect f7. So super important. I looked at the engine. They want you to check again, and I think it's better if they go here, but if they go back, I don't really know why it's that much better, and it's just slightly better. So either way, you're really ahead by a lot here, 6.7. Now I fail again. So he takes this pawn that's hanging, and I just cannot see this knight. I don't know why I can't see the knight. I actually saw the knight, but I saw it with my pawn. I was like, I need to get this knight out of here. And actually, just horrible. Just very bad, because now he's attacking my queen. I do get a check in, though. And now at this point, I'm like, wow, we have 4 pieces in the king's face here. We have some possible checkmates, so I wanted to just put a check in and see where he goes, see what develops. And yeah, as you can see here, mate in 10. At this point, I wasn't sure how to get the checkmate, but I did look at the squares we owned. And the queen really has nowhere to go. We own this square, we own this square, we own all of these squares, and we own this square. So actually, if we can get a check here that can't be taken as checkmate, well, we can do that. We can give him a check, and he has to sack his knight now, and we end up in this position. And again, we have a lot of squares around the queen, and so I thought, let's put another check in. I didn't see checkmate really here, and the best move is up here, but even looking at the engine, it's like checkmate in 11, and you kind of have to lose the knight, and at my level, I'm never seeing that. So I put the check in, and this is where it gets really shady for him, because we have this pawn with check. He moves to block it, but now you got to look at all of the squares we own, and so we own this square, we own this square. We own all of these, right? We own these squares. So really, the only thing that he doesn't own is the green here and the green here. And so we have a perfect dark squared bishop. Deliver checkmate. And also, yeah, the queen could have done it as well. But that was the game. That's it. Solid opening against the London. Super tricky. Get an exchange super early. And then try not to blunder it all away like I do. And then maybe you'll get above 1300. All right. Y'all have a good one. Peace.